my brothers and sisters of Dominica. In the last 2 decades, we have been slipping deeper and deeper into the disgraces of a failed independent state where the control of the economy and the social service delivery system has been surrendered to foreigners. While we stand aside and look, misleaders in government are using our own money from the sale of Dominican citizenship to take us back to the dark days of colonialism for their personal gain. We ask for accountability. The nation was told that answers to such requests would put to shame those advocating for the citizenship by investment program to be properly run in the public interest.
I am 100% sure that when the final tabulations are made, Lennox Linton will once again bring shame and disgrace to the party that he leads and to this country that he claims to love. He will once again prove himself unfit and unsuited, not only to hold the office of Prime Minister, but more so to preside over the vital Ministry of Finance. I look forward to him making a further fool of himself in the weeks ahead when his $1.2 billion allegations is tackled by the accounting officers head on. So tonight, I say to Lennox Linton, this Labour Party government in Dominica will, from September 19th of this year, show exactly where and how every single cent was raised and spent for and on behalf of the people of Dominica.
That was September 2019. More than 4 years later, we are still waiting. With billions of dollars belonging to the people of Dominica under private control in overseas bank accounts, the ruling party, under instructions from its foreign masters, refuses to provide an adequate package of financial assistance for the people of Dominica who are losing their jobs, their businesses, their means of livelihood in this government-inflicted economic crisis. But the ruling party is taking care of its own at the expense of a suffering nation. Over $70,000 per month of poor people's money to rent a mansion for the Prime Minister. 20 to 30% salary increases for the Prime Minister and government ministers, while thousands of struggling public servants are condemned to 6% and no percent at all. Over $200 million from the sale of Dominican passports spent every year to employ foreigners in jobs that can be done by Dominicans struggling to survive and sinking deeper into poverty. $85 million paid every year to foreigners to market the citizenship by investment program. No bid contracts to foreign companies for all major infrastructure projects. Nothing for local builders and contractors. The $1 billion contract for an international airport for the people of Dominica to be paid for by the people of Dominica was granted by a foreigner to a foreign company on foreign soil. Not one of the people of Dominica was present. $370 million spent so far on an international airport with no soil studies and no final designs, and precious little for the people of Dominica. There is no bigger mockery of our independence 45 years later than this cruel handover of Dominica's financial resources to foreign controllers of the ruling party. The sale of our passports, the proud emblem of citizenship, the very element within our national revenue stream intended to improve our quality of life, is being used to cripple the character of our nation and cast the darkest clouds over our nature island space. Last month, October 2023, as President of the United Workers' Party, I wrote to the Prime Minister requesting resolution of the problem with our missing CBI billions. I share the contents of that letter, which was copied to the representatives of the European Union and the United States in the Eastern Caribbean. As you're aware, following the July 2023 United Kingdom imposition of visa restrictions on Dominican citizens, the European Union has urged citizens by investment countries to implement stricter rules to ensure security and safety of the European region. Of the 6 guidelines presented by the EU to help CBI countries prevent abuse of the program for illicit activities such as money laundering, financing of terrorism, human trafficking, and tax evasion, guideline number 5 is of particular importance to Dominica. It says, flow of funds must be properly monitored and verified against strict money laundering processes. This includes the requirement that the investment funds should be transferred directly to the host country under all circumstances and must not be diverted to accounts in other countries. Over the past 10 years, consistent with the recent EU Guideline 5, we have asked repeatedly for all revenues from citizenship by investment to be directly transferred to and spent from the Consolidated Fund of Dominica as required by the Constitution or Supreme Law. Section 76 of the Constitution provides that, quote, all revenues or other monies raised or received by Dominica, not being revenues or other monies that are payable by or under any law for the time being in force in Dominica into some other fund established for a specific purpose, shall be paid into and from the Consolidated Fund. These revenues raised from the Citizenship by Investment program of the State of Dominica for housing in the State of Dominica are public funds and properly belong in the Treasury, the Consolidated Fund of the State of Dominica. There is no law requiring such revenues to be paid into some other fund established for a specific purpose. They must be received into and disbursed from the Consolidated Fund. Instead of obeying the Constitution and complying with the rule of law, you developed, promoted, and defended an illegal scheme with Anthony Hayden of Montreal Management Company for funding the construction of houses under the CBI program. This arrangement, using the people's money from the sale of the people's passports to fund housing for the people, unlawfully diverts the people's money away from the Consolidated Fund into special, privately operated accounts. In 2019, with respect to the illegal MMCE cash option, you told the nation,
every one of these houses that we are building under the CBI program belong to the state, 100%. So it's a state asset. So otherwise, if we did not have the housing, or if we did not go with the housing program in the way that we went, that all of this revenue would go to the state. And therefore, it would form part of the estimates
yes.
of the public sector investment program. Had we included this in the estimates, the budget would not be $1.1 billion. It would be about $2 billion, $2.2 billion.
Sir, going with the housing program in the way that we went was unlawful. As you well know, there are 2 lawful investment options to qualify for citizenship under the CBI. 1, an investment in the Government Development Fund, option 1, in which revenues are deposited in the Consolidated Fund, and B, an investment in real estate, option 2, in which revenues are held in escrow accounts for investment projects. These are the only options that are provided for in the regulations. There is no provision for an MMCE cash option, so it is unlawful for MMCE, a private company, to deposit CBI monies to fund housing and other public business into privately operated accounts. These unlawful actions have facilitated funding arrangements and no-bid contracts for the international airport and other pieces of the national economic infrastructure for the benefit of Hayden and MMCE. Most importantly, the illegalities you have chosen to engage have caused billions of dollars from the sale of Dominican citizenship, unaccounted for in Parliament, to be privatized into the control of foreign friends and associates of the Cabinet of Ministers. So, from the 40,273 citizenships sold for the 7-year period, July 1st, 2016 to June 30th, 2023, the Treasury, the Consolidated Fund, only received 2.7 billion EC dollars. That is 68,084 EC dollars per citizen instead of the $227,573 per citizen, or $9.1 billion EC in total that should have been collected leaving an unaccounted balance of 6.4 billion EC dollars, 6,400 million EC dollars. How can you honestly say to the people of Dominica, sir, that in the last 7 years, Dominica has only received an average of 68,084 EC dollars or 25,327 US dollars per passport sold under the Citizenship by Investment program? Yet you have branded those who have been advocating for administration of CBI funds according to the rule of law as enemies of the state, and you have indulged in incitement to murder by likening their criticisms to attacks on Dominica deserving of deadly response.
We must treat these attacks on Dominica as if you have someone outside your personal home, stolen your home and breaking your windows and doors, and want to set your house on fire with you and your family in it. Because that is what these guys are doing to Dominica.
Like the Dominican critics of Dominica's CBI program in the public interest of Dominica, the EU is emphasizing the importance of direct transfer of CBI funds to Dominica without any diversions to accounts in other nations. According to the EU, the intention is to ensure transparency, traceability, and the legitimate use of funds in the CBI programs. The EU says, quote, by insisting that all investment funds reach the host country directly, this principle strengthens the financial integrity and accountability of CBI programs, end of quote. Once again, on behalf of the people of Dominica, we ask that you, 1, immediately discontinue the unlawful practice of holding CBI revenues in private accounts overseas, and 2, disclose and properly account for all revenues collected and spent under the program. That's the end of the letter. And I'm asking again, haven't we in Dominica had enough independence celebrations in organized hypocrisy and self-hate? In this day and age, impoverished citizens yearning for a better life are being enslaved by ruling party puppets of their passport-selling masters behind the bars of need for food, clothing, and shelter assistance provided by the state, while foreigners are allowed to plunder hundreds of millions of dollars from the public purse with impunity. The independence to run our own affairs that we gleefully embraced on November 3rd, 1978, is working wonders for the multi-million-dollar benefit of foreign friends of the ruling party. It is not working for the farmers, the fishermen, the nurses, the teachers, the police officers, the public officers, the doctors, the lawyers, the businessmen and women, the shopkeepers, the disappearing middle class, the clerks, the carpenters, the masons, the electricians, the plumbers, the rich, the poor, the unemployed, the youth, the elderly, the leaders of church. The Nature Island people of Dominica from all walks of life know and understand that in the last 20 years we have been reversing into the dark ages where our ancestors fought against the odds for our freedom. For a Dominica for all Dominicans, for lives that matter. Dominica has been taken away from us. Yes, Dominica has been taken away from us. Nou kite yo point Dominic hod nou. Now we must rescue Dominica from captivity. We must take it back. So let us stand for right and rescue our country, resolute in the conviction that the dream of independence, the hope for freedom, happiness, truth, righteousness, justice, and human dignity will be relentlessly pursued and never abandoned in this blessed land. I thank you. God bless you.